In today's video, we are making red snapper. I'm going to teach you how to prep and cook this snapper. Yes, by the end of this video, you won't have to fear making red snapper ever again. This is Cassie and Family. Here are the highlighted comments. Thank you for all of your love and support. We have a lot to cover, so let's go. Here's my tray of ingredients. Starting off, we have all of these beautiful vegetables that I have. Onions. You'll also need peppers. I'm using a hot pepper. Don't prefer heat, skip it. You'll also need a couple of limes. You'll also be needing tomato. I have a sweet green bell pepper here. 2 red potatoes is going into this dish as well. Celery is a must. You must use celery. And carrot. Just my preference. I have a green onion, and for my wet spices I'll be using some Haitian spice. You can also use sofrito. Seasonings, I'll be using paprika. This will give it a nice color. Seasoning salt, which is optional. You don't need to use this. You can use regular salt, but you will need to use some type of seafood seasoning. This is very important. This will give you a good seafood taste and flavor. Apple cider vinegar, you'll need some of this to clean your fish. This is a shrimp and crab boil liquid. This is optional. You don't need to use it if you don't have it. And you'll need some oil. The only tools you'll need are some measuring spoons, 1 tablespoon and 1 teaspoon. You'll also need a very sharp knife, a baking brush to brush your oil onto the fish, a regular spoon to scoop out any other things that you may need, like the seasonings and stuff like that. The most important tool is your kitchen shears. This is the only tool you don't want to miss. Plastic bag and disposable gloves. And you'll need a snapper. This is a whole red snapper that I got from my butcher. Let's review what my butcher has done and what he hasn't done to this snapper. Scales have been removed and the fish has been gutted. The fins are still attached, so I will teach you how to remove them. The tail is also still attached. I won't be removing mine, but it's very easy to remove, and I will review that in this video as well. The eyeballs are still there. Some people like to eat their snapper with eyes, some don't. So you'll just have to wait and see if I like to eat my snapper with the eyes on or off. The tongue is still attached, and we will be removing it in this video. All right, now that we've introduced ourselves to our snapper, it's time to prepare our wet ingredients. Going to make a paste. Paste should include some type of blended herbs. If you'd like to see how I prepare my blended herbs, which I like to call Haitian spice, type Haitian spice video in the comments and I'll be sure to make that video just for you. Along with the Haitian spice, you'll want to add 1 tablespoon of oil. Then you're going to add 1 teaspoon of all of the seasonings that I mentioned earlier. Adjust and readjust depending to your preference. Always taste anything you make so that you can know if it has enough seasonings and salt. Give everything a good mix together so that it's well incorporated, and you'll be left with this. All right, from here, we're going to start prepping our fish. Grab your kitchen scissors, your kitchen shears. This is all you're going to need to prep the fish. That's it. Kitchen shears are very important for this. Don't be intimidated. Don't be afraid of the fish. I promise you it will be okay. We're going to get through this. Starting with the fins, just snip them right off. They come right off if you snip close to the body of the fish. Just go as close as you possibly can and snip. That's it. You want to snip all of the fins, so you'll also need to get the fins that are on the bottom of the fish towards the belly. You're going to do the same thing. Take your shears and snip. Get as close to the body as possible when you're snipping off the fins. This should be very easy as long as you are using the kitchen shears. Make sure that your shears are sharp so that it's easy for you to snip the fins. On a snapper, there's typically 6 small fins, 2 on each side of the fish, 4 at the bottom of the fish towards its belly. You want to remove all of those fins because if they are not edible, no reason to keep them on the fish as it is difficult to eat around them. So just remove them so that you can have a more pleasant eating experience once you cook your snapper. I want to show you detail by detail how I remove all of the fins. If you have your kitchen shears, this will be very simple. Subsequent to that, you want to remove the fins that are on top of the fish, the ones that you see me cutting off here. This is the easiest part to remove because it's just a straight line and all you have to do is cut. For the fins that are at the tail of the fish, 2 options. Either cut off just a little bit of the fins, the clear and sheer parts of the fins, or remove the entire tail. Time to remove the mouth. Now this is a little bit tricky, so pay attention. Find a corner of the fish's mouth. Insert your shears. Snip right across. Repeat on the other side. Each corner of the fish's mouth, through, making sure that each piece comes out. Then we're going to locate the bottom of the fish where the tongue is attached to the mouth of the fish. You'll see it. It's like just a line. Snip that part off. Then continue to cut the perimeters of the fish's jaw. That will remove the entirety of the fish's mouth, including the tongue. Once you've snipped all of the insertions to the fish's jaw, the one at the bottom and the sides, it'll be very easy to just continue removing the jaw of the fish until it is completely detached from the body of the fish. So it's very simple. Just cut, just like you used to do in arts and crafts. Just cut. And that's it. You'll be left with a beautiful piece of red snapper, all clean and prepped. Now the next phase is to clean the fish. Actually, go ahead, get some water, and we're going to clean the fish just to remove any excess scales or anything else that is left on the fish. So typically there will be scales at the bottom of the fish where the belly of the fish is closer to the tail. You want to go ahead and take your kitchen shears or a knife and scrape those scales off. Scrape them off ahead of time, because either way, once you cook the fish, the scales will begin to lift off of the fish when it is hot or starts to cook. It's easier to remove them during this process than to try to eat around the scales or attempt to remove them once the fish has already been cooked. So do not skip this step. Don't say I didn't warn you. I'm telling you now, your butcher will not be able to remove all of the scales. So make sure you descale the fish again once you are done taking off all of the fins. If you've made it this far into this video, please do me a favor and subscribe to the channel. Like this video so that I'm able to bring more content like this to you. Thank you. Moving on, you're going to take your lime, or you can use lemon, and we're going to clean the fish. We're going to scrub the fish, the inside of the fish, the outside of the fish, any other parts of the fish that needs to be scrubbed. We're going to just use the lime and scrub everywhere, making sure that the fish is nice and clean. You don't want to skip this step either, because this is what's going to remove the fishiness and the fishy taste to your fish, especially if you had this pre-frozen and it didn't come straight from the sea. You'll want to make sure you do this step. If you need, you can also use some of that vinegar, add a little salt to the water, and yeah, just use this. Get your flavors all the way together. Get your fish all the way together. Clean it properly. I'm an advocate of doing this. I don't know. I'm Haitian. This is how we clean our fish. This is how we do it. And it comes out perfectly every single time. We are going to be baking this, so it is very critical that we don't skip this cleaning step. It'll help with the baking process. Make it taste really good and nice. You know, very fresh. Then you'll be left with this beautiful snapper, all cleaned and ready to start the cooking process. We're almost there, so hang on tight. We're almost to the cooking process. Now you'll want to grab your plastic bag, and we're going to put our fish into the bag to begin the marinade process. It's easy to marinate in the bag. I just find it a lot easier to move the marinade around and to get the fish fully coated in my marinade. Pro tip: once you add the marinade to the bag, allow the fish to sit in the fridge overnight, or allow the fish to sit in the marinade just for a few hours. Even if you have just 30 minutes to allow this to marinate, it'll be worth it. So just allow the fish to have some time to sit in the juices of the marinade, and it will give your snapper a very, very good flavor. The flavor will be strong and tasty. Some people have problems with their snapper being bland or flavorless. If you let this fish sit in the marinade overnight, removing some of the air out of the bag for 30 minutes, it's worth it. The flavor will be there, it'll be strong, and you'll get all those nice flavors from your marinade, and you will not have to worry about your snapper being bland or flavorless. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to allow my fish to marinate for about an hour, and then I'll be back to cook it. You can also let your fish marinate for 30 minutes. If you don't have enough time to marinate overnight, at least 30 minutes to allow the fish to get all the flavors of the spices. It'll be very worth it when you're ready to cook. Moving right along to the next step. Here I have a bowl of all of my vegetables that I've already pre-chopped, pre-prepped, ready and rinsed off to begin assembling so we can start this dish. I'm going to put all of this in my baking pan. We're going to put the fish along with the vegetables in the oven to cook at 350 degrees for only 20 to 25 minutes. Now, while assembling this, you can cook the vegetables first without the fish to allow the vegetables to cook, because the fish is not going to take a long time to cook. Red snapper typically takes about 15 to 20 minutes depending on the size of the snapper. This is easily a one-pot dish. The only difference is I like to cook my vegetables separately, then cook the snapper with the vegetables. So you can make this however you want. You can just cook everything together, but just be warned that when you have a snapper with the bone in, it doesn't take a very long time to cook. Just like any other fish, this snapper is not going to take long. Just because it has the bones, it's still going to be the same amount of time. I'm going to add a little bit of water to coat the bottom of my pan. This is going to make sure that the vegetables have enough moisture to steam. I am going to be adding aluminum foil over top of my baking dish, but I still need to add a little bit of water. Then I'm going in with my fish seasoning. I want to keep this very simple. I don't want to overdo it. So I'm just going to add the fish seasoning, and that's going to give the vegetables an equal flavor to the snapper. It ensures that the vegetables are going to pair well with the snapper, since I am seasoning them with the same seasoning blend. I'm using the one that I showed you earlier, but any fish seasoning that you have will do. Even a little bit of salt and pepper is fine as well. And like I always say, whatever you add to your pan or your food needs to be incorporated. So I'm mixing all of this with my hands, or you can use a spoon. It really doesn't matter. The point is you need to mix everything together so that everything could be well seasoned. Now that the vegetables are seasoned and ready to go ahead and add the snapper back onto the pan, and I'm going to make some small incisions on the body of the snapper. I'm cutting a diagonal slit, exposing the flesh of the snapper. This is going to make sure that I can get some of that marinade into the body of the snapper. Once I'm done cutting the slits, I am going to stuff them with the marinade. This is going to make sure that the inside of the fish is actually flavored. This will give the fish a much needed boost of flavor. That is why we add marinade into the incisions. Most Caribbean people do this, so you probably want to do this step as well. This will make sure that the flavor of the snapper, the flavor of the fish is on point. This will make sure that your fish is not bland. All right, your snapper should look like this, and we're going to cook the vegetables separately. This is what the vegetables look like once they have been already cooked. As you see, it's been steamed, and this is where the water that I had, it create a nice little gravy for us to eat with the fish. I steamed the fish separately, and using a tin foil, I used aluminum foil to wrap the fish, and I steamed it by itself. Then I will just add this fish on top of the vegetables so that we can eat it together. Drop a fire emoji in the comments if you enjoyed today's recipe. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Leave me a comment of anything else that you would like to see from me. And as always, I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.